I hate everything. There. Hi, Zizaran here with another heist video, and we now have the gem information, which is great for me because I am currently working on build guides. But yeah, now we have finally the information on splitting steel, which is the third steel skill. Obviously, wasn't in the patch notes for whatever reason, but both shattering steel and splitting steel does look great as league starters. I'm not as convinced on lancing steel, although I know, for example, Rise QT has high hopes for that. But I feel like it makes it so much easier, especially for beginner players, when these skills have like a high base damage. And obviously, Shattering Steel has 113 to 169 flat physical to attacks. So they're a lot easier to scale because they don't rely completely on your weapon and actually do get something from gem levels. We have Blazing Salvo as well. It's actually pretty decent damage considering it's 6 additional projectiles by base, although the fact that it does have that many projectiles as a base, things like, I mean, Dying Sun's going to be great for this regardless because it's both AoE and additional projectiles, but generally a rule of thumb in PoE is like the less base projectiles something has, the more insane like adding any projectiles are. Like it ends up being a very, very big damage boost. So when something has 6 base, I mean, it does look like it has really, really great damage, though. I'm tempted to think this could be a pretty good league starter. Cracking Lance, the numbers look insane. It just looks so cool. Obviously, less of a muscular build as well, but either my first or second build, I think. Crack Lance, it looks beautiful. It's got very high effective added damage. It's going to be insane with Archmage. I am very surprised that it is this good. Maybe it'll consume too much mana. Just the cast time. TTD did say that he has built-in intensity, but I'm not 100% sure if that means that you don't need to use the gem and that'll still work to some degree, and that the gem itself will just power it up, or that it just has built-in added advantages for intensity. So that'll be interesting to see, because their wording and what they said is slightly different. Either way, looks like it's going to be an insane starter, and I'm very, very excited about it. Flamewall, I think, is exceeding everybody's expectations as a base gem. The stats, like it looks like you can easily do a build just around Flamewall. The secondary debuff deals like a crazy amount of damage, and modifiers to spell damage apply to it. Yeah, it looks fairly exciting. It's probably the most disappointing gem to me when I first saw it, because I was like, oh, I see what you're doing here. But then they pleasantly surprised me with the fact that, you know, it can be used as a utility with firing spells through the wall, which I think is a really, really cool idea, and I'm incredibly excited for it. Frost Shield as well. Looks like it can be interesting for boss healers, especially against maybe the Awakener, because he's never going to be inside the circle. We have 60% of damage dealt to your allies. It's taken from the Frost Shield's life, before life, or energy shield. And you get crit chance per charge while in the area, and it has 910 max life per stage. So it is pretty interesting. Like, that is a decent amount. Is it enough? I think it is. I think it is enough that we will see people using this for boss killing. Yeah, I thought it would be more based on your energy shield and how much it consumes, so that it would like, because it doesn't seem like it does. It just has flat 910 max life per stage, and it doesn't seem to rely on if you have, you know, 10,000 energy shield or if you have 1,000. So I guess that's pretty surprising to me. But I mean, that kind of makes it stronger without investment. So you could have like 20 energy shield. So here we have Hex Blast, and it deals chaos damage to a single enemy, dealing more damage if they are hexed. You'll be able to just right click people and kill with this. More importantly, you can curse something and then instantly Hex Blast them, and especially when you have like with things on the skill tree and probably on items, you can add base doom, so that, you know, you can just instantly play kind of like Contagion ED, or like Blade Blast, Blade Fall, that kind of stuff. I think this could be an interesting playstyle. I don't know if that's something I would like league start with, although the damage numbers looks really good. I think it's going to be a slightly more complicated Bane with, like, you know, it's basically built-in Profane Explosion. But yeah, I think it's fairly interesting. It's going to be a very, very new playstyle, something we don't have in the game yet. Sigil of Power, I think we're going to see an insane amount of usage on this. Yeah, I'm surprised it has a cast time. I'm not a huge fan of that, I guess, but because we already do have like quite a lot of powerful things to put on mouse button 1, so having this be able to put on mouse button 1 doesn't necessarily mean that everybody will. But having it as an instant skill would feel really nice, I think. So I'm surprised that it has a cast time. That's what I guess I'm not a fan of here. But yeah, it's going to be used a lot. And the fact that it has a 10-second cooldown too would mean that it's probably not something anyone would put on mouse button 1, right? You're never going to have it up when you want it. I feel like it would be very easy to justify this being instant, just like very, very fluid and smooth utility during boss fights, but very excited for Sigil of Power nonetheless. Void Sphere, as we all know, 10-second cooldown. It looks like something that would be an insanely fun build, but it's not going to be something that will be like a league starter. Because of the insane cooldown, we don't know if it's going to have any enchants, I think. It's something that I think maybe could be doable as a build with investment, but most likely it's just going to end up being utility or something you slap in a build on a 4-link, especially for corpse removal. And it just looks awesome. Maybe we can do cast on damage taken memes with this, actually. It would be really nice to get rid of corpses. And the alternative skill gem for Void Sphere does have 40% reduced heal effect duration, but 40% cooldown recovery rate. So once we get a little bit into the league, you get some cooldown recovery gear plus the alternative gem, then you can probably do it as a standalone build. And maybe it has a helmet enchant for +1 cooldown or more cooldown recovery. Here we see the elemental penetration gem too. Let's see how it compares to like for example lightning penetration support. So level 20 here, it's 32% penetrate all resistances. Like one specific one, like lightning, would be 37. So it's 5% less than a specific one, but it does penetrate everything. So some uses of this, for example, spell slingers can sometimes use multiple spells. And yeah, obviously there are things like elemental hit and stuff that'll benefit from this. So pretty cool. If you're, it could be very, very nice early on for Ellie hit when you're like EEing and using 2 elements. Impending Doom. So Doom Blast, I think this is the like occultist profane bloom explosion basically. Looks like similar, yeah, looks like that, and it'll be similar like Shockwave, but it's curse based. 50% more damage per 5 Doom on the Hex. So obviously you're going to want to build in as much like initial Doom as you can from the curse nodes. Looks pretty interesting. Fun way to scale it. Pinpoint. It's going to be really curious to see how much this is used. It's basically a way to make hybrid skills. Like sometimes we'll have skills where we are switching in a support gem for bosses. This is basically a counter to that, where you do get like the 3 additional projectiles. You can use this instead of like GMP or LMP, and you have a nice clearing ability then, right? But then every time that you get 1 intensity, you fire 1 fewer projectile down to 0. Obviously, when you only have 1 projectile or less projectiles firing, they'll be doing like a lot more damage. This is 30% projectile damage per intensity. So then when you have 4, that is 120% more damage from 1 support gem. So this is like insane single target. That is insane. Like, it's really, really good. It's actually definitely going to be used, because obviously you need to like stack up that intensity. Might be very easy with cast speed, and for clearing, you're just getting that like nice clear speed. You're not gonna need any like, you're not gonna need that insane damage for clearing like white and blue monsters. So very excited for the values on the new gems here. So we'll look through these here, and there's like not everything that's like really worth mentioning. The Enduring Cry is actually pretty big. I'm not a huge fan of this because I felt like it wasn't used on every build, and it did require quite a lot of investment. And it was a nice added benefit for like marauders. Either way, I thought having that on instant was fine with the stats that I had. Vitality has gotten a big overhaul. It's no longer percentage, and it's now a buff unless you have 15,000 or more life. Then it is a nerf. Obviously that is very, very rarely applicable. Ball Lightning got a huge nerf. Massive nerf. Discharge as well, probably the most exciting gem. Just looks insane. Firestorm, well, it does look pretty decent. People did start doing some maths on it, and they were saying that it is not as exciting as we should be hoping for for a gem that does look that cool and did get a big rework. I think it was Rory from Carnegie Games who went to Reddit and said that it does have a lot more overlap than people think, so it should still be really good. But yeah, less excited after all the changes and seeing the numbers for making this as a league starter. I will still try to make one. Glacial Cascade looks pretty exciting. We obviously aren't 100% sure how easy it's going to be to do the AoE overlap. We do have 4 bursts, and the final burst deals 200% more damage, and with enough AoE they should be overlapping each other. Spell Slinger obviously getting a huge nerf. You do have, like, it's been changed a little bit with like cooldown recovery rate and things like that, which is bad for Chaos Slingers, because if you're firing that like ED projectile 10 times per second or 1 time per second, that doesn't matter, right? It's not increasing your damage. So it's a less nerf for things like Volatile Dead Spell Slinger and things like that. A lot of those should still be doable. Same as before, obviously they do require a big investment to have single target, and now a higher investment, and you'll basically be forced to switch out a Spell Slinger endgame, or do an insane investment if you really enjoy that playstyle. And obviously like a few curse changes here, and intensity being reworked. Basically a buff if you're taking the intensity on the skill tree, because there's 1 less base, but they do more per now. Pretty happy overall with the gem changes. I'm just mostly really excited to get working on Cracklands, but I wanted to just give a quick update video for you guys to give like a brief. Here are my thoughts on the updated gems and the values. So gonna get back to making videos and guides. So thanks for watching. Try to die less than I do.